Hey guys, what's up? I'm here to give you guys a recap on the new episode of RWBY Volume 7, episode or Chapter 12, whichever one that seems fitting for you. This chapter or episode of RWBY Volume 7, oh my gosh, man, that is really crazy. So, if anything else, let's just get this started. Major spoilers, by the way, so best be prepared. I will try to do this as best I can, but can't make any promises if it feels a little bit disorganized or very disorganized. So if anything else, let's just get this started. We have to it that Clover and the others who was ever part of the Ace Ops or part of Atlas military ends up getting the pictures of wanted people, Team RWBY, Crow, and whoever else. And this is where it gets very tense and dangerous because Clover was about to put Crow under arrest and possibly Robin if she resists, but it looks like to me Robin doesn't like the idea. And we have to it that Crow and Robin end up taking on Clover. We have to it that Tyrion takes advantage of this chaos and crashes the plane down into the middle of a snowy plain field, which is shown later. Then we go to a scene switch with Team RWBY getting ready to take on the Ace Ops members, which is Vine, Elm, Harriet, and Meryl. And we see to it that Harriet tries to warn Team RWBY, you don't stand a chance against us, right? We're the best of the best in Atlas military. But we have to it that RWBY says, you were until you trained us. And we see to it that they end up clashing against each other. Before I get to any other further clashes, we have to it that that Oscar will later on be found by, let's see here, Nora, Ren, and John, and they end up realizing Oscar is alive, and Oscar punches a fake, which is actually Neo. And we see to it that John, Ren, Nora, and Oscar gets ready to fight against Neo due to the fact that she's the one that attacked him, and etc. Then we go to a scene with Winter and Penny does not like the idea of what's going on here, but Winter says, we can't allow our personal feelings get in the way, and whatever we're doing the best we can to save the few in our hands, which I go, oh my gosh, man, you gotta be kidding me. But we have to that Winter wants to get to her order to get the Winter Maiden's powers, etc., that kind of thing. Going back to the fight with Team RWBY against Ace Ops, with the exception of Clover, we have to it that it looks like to me Team RWBY seems to be on par with Ace Ops members, such as Elm, Harriet, Vine, and Meryl. It looks like to me they seem to be on par with each other, but with a little bit more of teamwork that Team RWBY did. They will later on overpower them. We have to it that Blake and Yang will later on use explosives on Vine, which he ends up grabbing Blake, but instead it was actually her fake shadow or something, and it'll later on take out Vine. And we have to it that Blake will later on restrain him with his arrest and then blast him down to the ground. And we see to it that Blake and Yang will later on work together to take out Elm. Of course, RWBY will later on restrain Harriet after Harriet seems to corner RWBY in a certain way, got her to the ground, but that didn't stop her. And Weiss will later on take advantage of Meryl's weakness, where every time he uses his semblance, he will later on tell people to stay, but there's only so much he can do beforehand, and then he gets really exhausted. Weiss will later on knock him out, and etc. Continuing on, we have to it that that pretty much Team RWBY defeats the Ace Ops team due to the fact that they're the ones that trained them and because of their handy-dandy teamwork altogether, Maria and Penny's father will later on show up to try to help out Team RWBY of what's going on here. Then we go to a scene with Winter and Penny, which is shown maybe almost towards the end of the volume or something, or the episode or chapter. And we see to it that they're about to transfer the Winter Maiden's powers to Winter, but unfortunately for them, they get interrupted by Cinder and gets ready to fight against her, where Penny does not feel fear at all and gets ready to clash against Cinder, even though Cinder warns her, you better stand aside or I'll turn you into dust where there's nothing left. Another scene involving Crow and Clover fighting against each other, Although Clover wanted to do this peacefully, he wants to help out Robin too. But Crow does not fall for that and gets ready to clash against each other. Tyrion, who apparently broke out of his restraints by breaking his thumb or something, or dislocating it, and relocates it back. Decides to help out Crow, and he telling Crow, okay, how about you and I work together and we can settle our personal matters, personal matters. And we see to it that Crow and Tyrion does work together, even though Crow does not want to, and ends up actually giving Clover a hard time, Eventually, Crow will let on deliver a punching blow to Clover after Clover flings Crow's weapon away and pushes Tyrion off. And we see to it that Crow tries to tell Clover, why are you doing this, And we see to it that Clover tells Crow, I trust James with my heart and my life, which is why I'm doing this, I believe what he's doing is the right thing, and sometimes making decisions is really tough. But we see to it, of course, that Tyrion takes advantage of this, uses Crow's weapon, and stabs Clover in the back, and Crow gets enraged by this and tries to hit Tyrion, and it looks like to me the airplane authorities showed up right at the wrong time, and the right time for Tyrion, wrong time for Crow. Talk about major bad luck, my dear lord. And Tyrion says, you know what, we'll have to sell this next time. Bye-bye. And Tyrion takes advantage of this and runs off. Crow tries to tend to Clover, but he's unable to, because he doesn't have the equipment or the knowledge of medical or health to help him out. And after taking that big stab wound and bleeding out, obviously he ain't going to survive. And Clover, on the other hand, says a couple words to Crow, and Crow says a couple words to Clover, and Clover dies from the stab wound from Crow's weapon that Tyrion used, and Crow can only scream in agony and pain of losing another friend. This really sucks, man. I mean, all I can really see in this title of this episode or chapter is personal feelings against orders, So, yeah. Talk about a sad way, man. It really sucks. Really, really sucks. So until then, people, I'll see you guys in the next video. I'm Alpha Zero. Have a good day. And I'll see you guys next time, alright? Peace out. Bye-bye. Toot-toot-toot.